Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar for the Science Week Call 2021. My name is Rebecca and I manage the Science Week Call and I lead Science Week within SFI. The Science Week Call aims to provide support to festivals and events nationwide that encourage people, in particular those underrepresented in STEM, to be informed, inspired and engaged in STEM during Science Week and beyond. During the webinar, I'd encourage you to ask any questions you have in relation to the call, and there should be a facility to do so via YouTube chat. And at the end of the presentation, I'll take a few minutes just to collate the questions and then I'll come back online to go through them. We will provide contact details throughout if you do have any queries after the session, and a recording of the webinar and associated questions will be made available on the website. Science Foundation Ireland recently launched our new 5-year strategy, Shaping Our Future. And at Science Foundation Ireland, we fund research that makes a real difference to our society and economy, both now and into the future. We believe that this real difference can only be achieved when the public are involved in shaping research. At SFI, we believe that research is better when the public it serves is involved in shaping the questions from the beginning. When we broaden the participation in science, research and innovation, the impact from these will be greater and more beneficial. The research we do should truly represent the vibrant and diverse society we have in Ireland. From stimulating conversations to understand perspectives to inspiring the future STEM talent, SFI recognises the importance of engagement to drive the best solutions for all. As part of its remit to engage the public with science, technology, engineering and maths, SFI expects its award holders to stimulate public understanding, interest and involvement in STEM through relevant, inclusive and accessible means. SFI believes the best decisions and policies for society will be made when informed by science that represents and is understood by society. Education and public engagement is really important to SFI, and public engagement is a two-way process involving interaction and listening with mutual benefit. The levels of engagement can completely vary from raising awareness through to consulting and then on to deeper collaboration, but always with the aim of meaningful two-way dialogue taking place between the researcher and the public. The SFI EPE programme can be viewed from 3 connected areas of activity. There are funding opportunities, which you can see there. So starting with the SFI Discover annual call, which is designed to support and develop the STEM education and public engagement sector in Ireland by investing in, developing and extending capacity in the area, and exploring and encouraging novel means of public engagement and communications. Then there's the Science Week call, which this webinar will focus on and provide support to festivals and events nationwide that take place specifically during Science Week. And then finally in the section I'll mention the SFI RTE Joint Initiative. SFI has worked with RTE over the past 5 years to make challenges, developments, and discoveries in STEM more accessible to the public through television and digital media content. This joint initiative supports projects that take pioneering research and developments in Ireland and place them in real stories. Future Ireland Live, which took place in 2020, or What Planet Are You On, that aired in 2019. And to give some context in relation to their reach, the RT initiative in 2020 reached over 2 million people. SFI funds 16 world-leading research centres across Ireland. The SFI research centres link scientists and engineers in partnerships across academia and industry to address crucial research questions. Each centre has an active public engagement programme across their disciplines. The third area of activity is within the directly managed programmes by SFI. These include Smart Futures, which provides information on STEM careers to second level students, parents, teachers and guidance counsellors. The Discover Primary Science and Maths programme, which introduces primary school students and teachers to science in a practical, hands-on, enjoyable and interactive way through Teacher CPD and a School Awards programme. And then there's Science Week, which is led nationally by SFI through the management of national media and a PR campaign. SFI's role in Science Week will be discussed in a little more detail shortly in this webinar. SFI also manages the Irish Zero programme. Zero is an education project of the European Space Agency and is co-funded by ESA and SFI in active fields of education and space. Zero content and resources feature across Smart Futures, DPSM and Science Week. Science Week is one of the routes which SFI use to engage the public with STEM and is a key part of Science Foundation Ireland's 2025 strategy, Shaping Our Future. The Science Week call contributes to the themes of top talent, tangible benefits, and a cohesive ecosystem. The programme plays a key role in bringing science to life, and through its core objectives, Science Week activity will contribute to improving diversity and inclusion in science through its aim to broaden participation both geographically and amongst less represented voices in science. Science Week 2021 will take place from the 7th to the 14th of November. The importance of science has never been so front and centre in the public's eye. The pandemic has caused so much disruption, but we have an opportunity to excite and inspire the Irish public about the benefits and the role science and innovation plays. The focus of Science Week 2020 will be on a national conversation between the general public, the research community and policymakers, and supporting a national initiative from the Department of Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. This conversation will highlight the potential of existing scientific discoveries, but crucially it is calling on the Irish public to have their say on what challenges and research questions are most important to them and how science might help. Most importantly, Science Week will aim to capture these challenges or questions as they arise from the public. Applicants to the Science Week Call 2021 are encouraged to consider how to include this theme as part of their programme. And if you would like to discuss this further, I am more than happy to arrange calls with applicants. Please email discover.program@sfi.ie. So what is the role of SFI in Science Week? SFI coordinates Science Week by providing a platform to stimulate, support and create awareness of the range of partner activity that takes place in November each year. SFI coordinates the week nationally through the management of a national media and PR campaign, the provision of Science Week science shows, the supply of branded merchandise and collateral to event organisers, the coordination of the Science Week website as a hub for event registration and resources, and finally the funding of regional festivals and events. The Science Week call welcomes contributions from across the sciences, arts, media, education, youth and/or community work sectors. Applicants are encouraged to submit proposals for Science Week that create opportunities for broader participation and engagement of the public with science. We are keen to push the boundaries of participation and really welcome new types of events that attract those who would not typically attend a science festival. The communities we wish to engage vary in how they wish to participate. Some will participate in an event, some will join conversations, others will listen, and some will just observe and be aware of the week. The Science Week Call 2021 will support proposals that broaden the reach and participation of people in Science Week in ways that are most suited to them. As we continue to navigate the impact of COVID-19 and the restrictions which may or may not be in place around gatherings, applications for both digital and/or in-person will be sought. Applicants should include appropriate plans in line with government guidelines and contingency plans for any in-person events. I'd also like to flag that appropriate security and privacy plans for virtual events should be detailed in your application. So I'm going to speak a little bit about some of the sections within the call document. I won't go through every item in detail. And again, if there are particular questions that you have, please use the chat function. So in particular, I'd like to draw your attention to the objectives of the Science Week call, which you would have seen in the call document, and these should be addressed in your application. The Science Week Call 2021 encourages applicants who are continuing to develop and deepen their engagement with broader communities through existing Science Week festivals, or who are creating a new offering for a community or region not yet served by Science Week. As I would have said, in particular, we are keen to see applications that broaden participation, and diversity and inclusion should be integral to all applications. Science Foundation Ireland has identified key audiences which are typically underserved by Science Week activities. Under the call, SFI seeks proposals for activity that will create a new offering for a community or region not yet served by Science Week, and we welcome novel approaches or activities that are specifically aimed at engaging the following groups. So women and girls, socially, economically and or educationally disadvantaged population groups, adults attending without children, or special interest groups. There are two types of activities funded under the Science Week call. Firstly, Science Week festivals. Science Week festivals organise, manage and deliver a Science Week festival in their local region. The activities delivered as part of these festivals must engage audiences who are not served by the national campaign, and in particular should be designed to appeal to those underrepresented in STEM or who would not traditionally attend a science event. SFI will deliver virtual science shows nationally, designed for both primary and secondary schools. And Science Week Festival should therefore focus activity on communities which would not be served by these type of events, or focusing on delivering content with a local STEM context. Science Week festivals are required to work closely with the local community and interest groups to co-design or co-create activities. I'd like to note that there are a number of festivals who already have committed funding through SFI through previous calls. And these are the Sligo Science Festival, the Festival of Farming and Food at Teagasc, Cork Science Festival, Cavan Monaghan Science Festival, Galway Science and Technology Festival, Limerick Festival of Science, and Tipperary Science Festival. Applications for Science Week festivals in these regions are not eligible for funding in the Science Week 2021 call. Applicants are encouraged to collaborate with other Science Week festivals in sharing best practice or organising events, and the lead applicant or a designated representative will be required to join a National Science Week Planning Committee, which will be detailed in the letter of offer. The other type of activity is Science Week events. These applications are to support activity in areas where a Science Week festival is not currently available, or is focused on engagement with a minority community or those not served by the Science Week festival. Projects applying for funding under the Science Week 2021 call may request funding at the following levels. Under Category A, applications are invited for 1 year funding up to a maximum of €30,000. This category is open to Science Week festivals which have received SFI funding for 3 or more consecutive years previous to the current application year. I would like to just note on this category that previously this category was 3-year funding up to a maximum of 30,000 per annum. That option applying for 3-year funding is temporarily on hold due to still navigating the restrictions that may be in place come November. SFI does intend on reopening this category in 2022. In relation then to Category B, applications are invited for 1 year funding up to a maximum of €35,000. And this category is open to new festivals or existing Science Week festivals which have been funded by SFI for less than 3 consecutive years. And then finally, the events would fall into Category C, and this is funding of up to €8,000 for the coordination and delivery of a Science Week event. SFI expects to see evidence in applications that a Science Week festival or event is delivering to a high standard, whether that is virtually or face-to-face. Overall, Science Foundation Ireland expects applicants to demonstrate how the proposal is aligned to the call objectives, in particular outlining how broadening participation is included in the plan, how the need for the proposed activity has been evaluated and the target participant group has been defined, the objectives of the proposal and how they're being achieved or how they will be achieved, including the details of the content planned, where and when it will take place, and how it is relevant to the target participant group. And finally, how success in achieving these objectives will be measured. I'd like to bring your attention to the topic of broadening audiences. Applicants are encouraged to submit proposals for Science Week that will create opportunities for broader participation and engagement of the public with science. And special consideration will be given by reviewers to festival and event proposals, which are broadened to include these key audiences, which are detailed in the call document. All applicants are required to complete the STEM education and public engagement track record and excellence form. There are two forms, one for first-time applicants, or if you're applying for event funding, and secondly then there's a version for festivals which have previously been funded under the SFI Science Week call. This is available for download on Sesame and on the SFI website, and is to be uploaded in the additional information section, which I will discuss later on in the webinar. It should provide a clear rationale on how the Science Week festival or event is evolving in excellence and long-term sustainability. Applications are welcomed from a wide range of people and organisations detailed within the call document. Applicants are encouraged to make considerable effort to establish partnerships between varied stakeholders. I will talk through now some of the eligibility criteria for organisations. There are two categories of other bodies that can become eligible for the Science Week Call 2021. There's state bodies, so in order to become eligible for the Science Week Call, applicants in this category are required to complete, sign and stamp and upload the other body's state body cover sheet, which is available to download on Sesame. A senior executive within the organisation is required to sign the cover sheet, indicating the organisation's support for the application. The next group is other body, so this is not an eligible research body or a state body. In order to become eligible for the Science Week call, applicants are required in this category to complete the other organisation cover sheet. Again, this is available for download from Sesame, and provide details on the organisation's status, registration number, auditors, solicitors and bankers. Provide details of the organisation structure, detailing positions and names of post holders. Provide a copy of the most recent annual report, if appropriate. So if your organisation is required to publish an annual report, we would request a copy of this. And then finally, provide a signed copy of the most recent audited financial statements. If you have any queries in relation to your organisation status, please email us at discover.program@sfi.ie for clarification. And this must be done in good time before the closing date, a minimum of 3 days, to ensure that the application is completed and submitted before the deadline. No exceptions will be made in relation to the submission date for this or any other reason. All costs must be justified in the application and will be subject to cost scrutiny. The project must run in conjunction with National Science Week. The list on your screen is available in the call document and is detailed there. I would, however, like to draw your attention to access requirements. Consideration should be given to costs for ensuring access to all, such as ISL interpreters, and a relevant budget line should be included. Applicants who are unsure of cost eligibility should contact us at discover.program@sfi.ie. Applicants should demonstrate their plan to evaluate Science Week proposals by establishing clear goals which can be assessed pre and post event. For example, by engaging with members of the target participants to gauge insights on their specific needs and expectations. Successful applicants will be required to include a set number of questions from the external Science Week evaluation in their project evaluation. However, it is required that applicants will also conduct evaluations specific to their own activity. The proposal should incorporate these insights into the plan to ensure the Science Week festival or event will be appealing to the target audience. Any applicants who have previously received funding under the Science Week call must clearly outline how they've used past evaluations to improve and shape their plans for Science Week 2021. More detailed information can be found in the call document, and on the SFI website there is an evaluation toolkit which you may find useful. Science Foundation Ireland commissions independent evaluations of Science Week activity on a regular basis. This evaluation looks at delivery across the Science Week programme. In 2021, it is anticipated that the independent evaluation will concentrate on success in reaching broader participant groups, how co-creation of events has been used with these groups, and also the impact of digital delivery. A condition of the funding under the Science Week Call 2021 is that organisers actively engage with the appointed external evaluation and provide the relevant information to the evaluator. Further details will be provided to successful applicants following notification of funding decisions. SFI has specific requirements for the reporting on awards that it makes. Individuals who hold primary responsibility for reporting and fail to comply with reporting requirements run the risk of having their grant payments suspended and their eligibility for funding from SFI affected. The SFI grant management system Sesame, which I'll talk through in a minute, is the primary way for collecting reporting. Science Week 2021 awardees will be requested to submit their final report by the 31st of March 2022, and a template for this report will be provided on Sesame. Where relevant, applicants and organisations are required to comply with the provisions of the Children's First Act 2015 and the National Guidance for the Protection and Welfare of Children 2017. It is the responsibility of the organisation to ensure they are compliant with all applicable law. Compliance with the Children's First Act will be a specific inclusion in the awards acceptance certificate and will be detailed to successful applicants. Applicants must adhere to and agree to the SFI Discover grant terms and conditions for the Discover programme calls. All SFI funding granted under this call is subject to and must be compliant with state aid legislation. When SFI awards a grant under this programme, it is on the understanding that The SFI grant will not give rise to the granting of state aid. The SFI grant will be used only for economic activities, and where the recipient is engaged in both economic and non-economic activities, the recipient has in place appropriate accounting separation processes. It is the responsibility of applicants to ensure that state aid does not apply to SFI grants under this call. All applications must be submitted via Sesame. There is a user's manual for the SFI Discover Programme Science Week call on the SFI website. If you're already registered on Sesame, you can use your existing login details. And if you have forgotten the password, there is a Forgot My Password functionality. If you're from an eligible research body but not registered on Sesame, you should contact the research office in your institution to be registered. If you're from another body and have not previously registered with Sesame, please email the following information that you can see on your screen to discover.program@sfi.ie. This is detailed again in the call document. Once this information has been received, a Sesame profile will be created for you and login details will be emailed to the email address provided. Due to an SFI office closure on the 30th of April 2021, the deadline has been extended to the 5th of May 2021 at 1 p.m. This is the deadline. There are no exceptions that can be made under any circumstances, and Sesame will close for applications at this time. Applicants should note that the submission button on Sesame does cease to function once the call is closed, which will be at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, the 5th of May 2021. Applications considered ineligible or not aligned to the Science Week 2021 objectives, for example, if the subject area addressed is not related to STEM, will not be reviewed. In order to be eligible for review, projects must be technically sound and have a clear STEM content, with a qualified STEM professional leading or acting in an advisory role. All eligible applications will be subject to review based on the criteria set out in the call document. Okay, so in this section I'm going to explain a little bit about Sesame and the application process. Sesame is SFI's online grant management system, and as I would have mentioned, a user guide for Sesame has been published on the web page with the call document. These are the sections within the application on Sesame. I'm not going to go through every section in detail here, but I will draw your attention to some of the important sections, and full details are available in the Sesame user guide on the website. So the first section is proposal summary. The project title is the name that you're giving to your project. So for example, ABC Science Festival. And then you'll select what category you're applying for, whether this is category A, B, or C. You are also asked to give a 250-word summary which best describes your project. And this could be used as a standalone description of your project if you're funded. It is important to click Save Draft after this action to ensure that the budget sections and audience reach sections are correct when you get to them in relation to the category you're applying for. We do recommend that you save draft at the end of every section or throughout your application process. In the project details section, you're asked to detail the geographical reach of your festival or event, the target audience or participant groups, the direct engagement number, and how you plan to reach this audience. But I'd like to draw your attention here to one question in this section, which is around the details of the activity that you're proposing. In the location section, please outline whether this will be an online or an in-person event, and if it's an in-person event, where this will take place. And the contingency section is for if you're proposing in-person events, we ask you to please detail a contingency should you need to deliver this digitally. The next section I want to talk you through is the budget section, and there's 2 steps to this. So we want to understand how you propose to fund the project. An applicant should demonstrate how funding or in-kind contributions are being sourced from other partners to deliver this project. I will go through the budget section in a little more detail than I have on the other sections, as there's a couple of steps to it. So the first stage is to prepare the budget, and you click open and this will give you a pop-up which you can see there at the second half of the screen. Then you click on open budget within here. You will get a pop-up and you will be asked to detail the total requested amount, and you click on the plus symbol here to add in a line to this table. Enter the words discover funding requested in the description box and enter the total amount being requested from the SFI Discover Programme Science Week call. You then click Save and Close. Please do not enter any other information in this section. You'll be able to provide a breakdown in the next section. I'll move on to step 2 of the budget section. And there are 2 questions you're being asked to complete here. Firstly, how much will the project cost, including a budget breakdown? And secondly, how will the balance of the project be funded? In the first question, you are being asked to outline the costs of your Science Week project. Use the plus symbol to enter a budget line. You use the drop-down options under the category to select the correct category and provide very brief details. Enter the total project cost for that line and the amount that is going to be charged to the Discover Award. Note that in the case where a line entry is not being charged to the Discover Award, you should enter a 0 rather than leaving it blank. Continue on using the category headings as appropriate until all the project costs have been entered. Be sure to click Save once you have finished this step. When you complete this section, again, please click Save, and the budget breakdown section will appear with the categories you have selected above. Please provide the description and breakdown amount, so how the figure has been arrived at for each of the categories you have selected. Please add rows as required. The next table is entitled How will the balance of the project costs be funded? In this table, you should indicate where the balance of the funding is coming from. Again, there will be a plus symbol here. You click on this, insert the name or names of partner organisations, which can be different organisations, enter the details on what they're providing and how much, and whether this is in cash or in kind. Remember, the total project costs less the balance of the project costs should equal the amount of funding requested. Again, remember to save and close. So that is the budget section complete. I'll move on to the organising committee section and the project team sections, and they're fairly self-explanatory. So please note that Sesame does though have a validation system and will not allow you to upload more than is required. One page only PDF CVs is to be uploaded for the project lead and the project team members. A CV template has been provided and is available for download on the website and must be used. To note that these one-page CVs must be written with relevance to this project, i.e. they should outline experience in relation to the delivery of STEM festivals and events, So moving on to organisational information. This is the section around the corporate and financial issues. So for an eligible research body, please ensure that the eligible research body cover sheet is completed, signed and stamped by the appropriate person, which is usually the research office. Then there's the other bodies category, which I spoke about earlier. There are two categories, as I mentioned, state body or other organisation. Please ensure that you're using the correct cover sheet for this. These can be downloaded from Sesame and uploaded when they are signed and stamped. The additional information section is where all applicants are required to complete and upload the STEM education and public engagement track record and excellence form. There are two forms to download here depending on if it is your first time applying for SFI Science Week funding, or if you have previously received funding from SFI. Please ensure you download and PDF the correct version prior to you uploading. The next section is letters of support. Please attach letters of support from organisations whose input to the project is required. Letters of support should outline the role which the partner organisation will play in delivering the project. A letter of support is not required for the host organisation as they are committing to the project by the very fact that they are submitting the application. At the end of the application, you will see View Proposal prior to submission. Use this functionality to review or share your application while it's in preparation. Ensure that the project team CVs, track record and STEM, and the letters of support are included in the PDF. Please note that corporate and financial information will not be included in the PDF. Ensure that all the attachments are in PDF form. Any Word documents or JPEGs will attach but will not be included in the PDF which is sent to the reviewers. You can edit your application as many times as you like, but once you've submitted it, you cannot amend it in any shape or form. Early submission in Sesame is strongly recommended. Applicants who wait shortly before the close of the call take a serious risk of encountering submission issues. The submit button, as I said, will cease to be active at 1 p.m. on Wednesday the 5th of May 2021. If you have any queries at any stage, please do get in contact with us at discover.program@sfi.ie, and please ensure that you submit queries in good time so that we can discuss any issues you may have. I'll pause here, because it's been a lot of information over the past 45 minutes, to take a short break and collate any questions that have been coming in through the chat. and I'll come back online in a minute or two to go through them.